So I'm Gert Van Loo. I'm the guy who designed the prototype of the Raspberry Pi. Anybody here who doesn't know what a Raspberry Pi is? Okay, then I can just skip about half my presentation, I'm afraid. Okay. So, embedded computers and Raspberry Pi. Why is embedded computing very important? I'm just going to stress that a little bit because you hear all the time computers are everywhere. But it also means computer jobs are everywhere. And embedded computers are quite more abundant than desktop. Now, a lot of people think about embedded computer as the computer in their dishwasher, in their television, their VCR, etc. But what a lot of people don't realize that if you take out your mobile phone, you probably have about 12 embedded processors in there. That's 12 jobs which you can get. So there's one big processor for the screen, and there's some keyboard handling, but most of the quite a lot of embedded processors. There's one which talks to your modem. There's one which does all kind of, there's lots of them in there. So this sub job. So embedded computer is very important, and you're more likely to find a job in embedded computing than getting one on the big screen and the big keyboard about there. The other thing which I'd like to stress is that, in my opinion, the engineer is one of the very few creative jobs which is reasonably paid. You get to create things, you get to make things, and you get to see them work, and that's quite satisfactory. The first time my chip came back and had all these wiggly waveforms on the screen, and the real waveform comes out, is quite a sort of satisfactory. And it's reasonably paid because, believe me, there are some very good artists, but most people in poets and paintings do not earn much. So, and the third point is very important, well, embedded system is you cannot learn this on a PC. When you, for the first time, get a microcontroller, there's no printf, there's nothing coming out. In fact, I'll point that out later still, the most important debug tool for most embedded systems is the LED you can blink on and off. Where am I? Do I get this point of the code? Ah, LED comes on, yes, that's what I have. That's the most important debug tool ever there is, so that's very important. And the last line is on the wrong presentation. So, this is a Raspberry Pi at the bottom and a Gert board at the top. And this is, when you know about the Raspberry Pi, you probably know that the Pi was developed mostly to get kids into computing again. I'm just going to repeat here for you, those of you who haven't heard Ebbins talk about half a dozen times. Nowadays, you don't let your kids play with your home computer. Your administration is on there, your photos are on there, and you're scared too much that they'll do something accidentally like format hard disk. Just like you do not let your kids play with a home computer and you do not let them play with your car, you let them play with their bike. And the Raspberry Pi is the solution for getting your kids into computing again and playing with them and giving them full access to whatever they want to do with it. It's $35. If they really, really screw up, then they have just lost $35. It can't be too much. The other advantage of the Pi is you cannot software brick it. Yes, you can brick it if you smash it with a hammer, but in software there's no possibility to brick it. Everything's on the SD card. You just put a new SD card in there and your whole system is up and running again, which is quite an advantage if you do not know much about computing. And I'll give an example about that. I was on Monday, had to somebody was doing some courses saying, how do I delete the directory? I told them RM minus RF. And then I told them immediately, be very carefully, because if you don't watch it, it deletes everything underneath it. So on a Raspberry Pi, that wouldn't be too bad because you just put a new card in there, you're up and running again. So I'm going to skip a little bit of this picture because nobody put their hand up. Everybody knows the Raspberry Pi, so you know the capabilities of all the different things in there, which means I'll probably run out of time at the end of the thing, doesn't matter. HDMI, Ethernet, chips, etc. What you're probably less familiar with is this picture here. So this is the Gert board. While the Raspberry Pi Foundation were commercializing the Raspberry Pi, my own experience thought that it's very important to teach children computing, but I also want to teach them I/O. It's quite amazing to see that kids can write a lot of code and they get these beautiful fractal things on the computer and most amazing pictures, and boring. But you just have a piece of code which just lights an LED, you think, the LED comes on. Yes, just like one pixel on your screen, just a little bit bigger, but that speaks to them. What even speaks more to them if you connect a motor to it and start moving things around. They suddenly think, hey, I can do things with the computer. So that's what the Gert board was designed for, to get kids into teaching and into I/O. It comes with a 58-page manuals. That's mostly for the teachers because quite a lot of teachers are scared about this. and they have to teach a whole class of kids which they think know more than they do. So it's completely explained in quite a lot of detail what you can do. Also, the manual and the board is laid out in a teaching fashion. So you start off with the simplest thing: how do I light an LED? How do I read a button? How do I light an LED when I read a button? It's the most boring thing you have. You press the button and the light comes on. Yes, that's what I have in every living room. But there's something behind it because you've written it. Now you can press the button and the light can come on 4 times. That's the sort of thing you can do. That's quite teaching. What's also interesting, I/O buffers, it's got a DC motor controller, open collector, but in the corner there, you have an ATmega, which is the same device you find on the Arduino. And you can program that from the Raspberry Pi. You can install the development kit on the Pi. You connect the two together. You don't need USB things. You can put a complete blank ATmega in there, and you can write your code on the Raspberry Pi, press the upload button, and your program is running in your ATmega there. So that's quite an advantage because you now have an integrated development environment where you got a complete integrated development. You got your compiler, you got your editor, you got your thing, you got your uploader, you got your programmer, you got everything in one system, which is quite useful. This is a picture which I posted a long time ago as introduction to the Gert board. Quite a lot of people have posted on the Raspberry Pi website saying, I prefer this picture because it tells me what I can do. At the top, we got the pins coming from the Raspberry Pi, the I/O pins. And the reason why we had the strapping is you immediately see there that we got 17 pins above there, and we got a lot more pins below it. So what you have to do, you have to strap things up. Now, at first, that seems a disadvantage. But in practical, it is an advantage because quite a lot of kids program something and the LED over there comes on. Yeah, but how? Now you have to physically make a connection. You have to realize that this pin goes high and it's connected to that part there. And that enlightening often helps people in realizing how computers work. The other reason for the strapping is that it allows not only the top to be connected, but also the microcontroller. Because it's completely strappable, you can make the ATmega do something, and then you can connect the output of the ATmega to the motor controller. So you can control the motor not only from your Pi, but from your ATmega. Or you can say, I want to have extra buffers. So you take the ATmega, put them in the buffer because it's got decent drive strength, but not as much as 244, so it can protect things. So it's quite flexible, the whole system, which is quite useful for when you're working in electronics. Oh, what did I do? Okay, the Gert board was aimed at education, but I found out it's used everywhere. A lot of people use it for prototyping, for simple development, etc. And there's lots of example programs. As I said, it comes with a 58-page manual, and the manual programs shows you how to do it step by step in C, but also in Python. Tomorrow afternoon there will be 4 sessions which you can sign up to in the morning, and then you can have hands-on experience with a Pi and a Gert board. And we have a real slider there, we got a real motor there, so you can play with it yourself, how to program this thing up in Python. We take you all through the steps one by one from the beginning to the end, and you can have some experience about how to do that. And the other thing which is very important to me is why did I do this? I didn't do this to make money. I didn't do it because, okay, quite frankly, I earned some money from the Gert boards. But believe me, it's not as much as the number of hours and everything else I put in there. So, and somebody says, I work for a big company, somebody says, oh, you're going to quit your job now? I says, well, not if you still want to have some butter on my bread, because I can't live from that. Absolutely not. But to me, the satisfaction is more like the last line of the code, which is on here. Somebody posted a question on the Raspberry Pi website saying, should I buy a Gert board? I'm not going to answer that, because whatever answer I give, people will say I'm biased. In fact, most of the time, I've seen questions where people say, can I do this? And somebody else says, buy a Gert board. And I say, don't buy a Gert board, because you just buy a 244 for 60p, it does the same job. All you have to do is connect 3 wires to it. So I'm not interested in selling Gert boards. I'm interested to get a solution to people and teach them things. Somebody else answered that question, should I buy a Gert board? And he said, what is there? He says, when I wanted to start and go into robotics, I have no idea what to do. I really wanted to do something, so what I did, I bought the Gert board, I took the manual, and to me the manual was mesmerizing. I started with the first example, took me a while, get in there, got it working, and then after example 4, I suddenly saw I'd been busy there for 3 hours. Because it just takes you through it, and you want to do the next step, and what do I do next, etc. So at the end he says that what happened to him is that He had no idea where to start, but for a whole day with a Gert board, he had his motor arm, robot arm, controlled by a temperature sensor. Now, I don't know why you want to do that, but that's in fact the most important part of education, is that it's not up to me what you want to do. I provide the means and you just do the rest of it. And that sort of things where people say, yes, I have a Gert board, I know how to do things. I know somebody who just said to me, thanks to you, I now have been unemployed for 2 years and now have a job in embedded programming. That's worth more than any money in the world. That's what you do it for. So that's what gives me the satisfaction. Thank you.